Today's topic is what's new in Spotfire 11.3. It was released during the weekend and it's a feature-packed release, so let's get right into it. First of all, I want you to know that we have TIBCO Analytics Forum coming up next month in May. So please visit the website you see here and register. There will be tons of great customer presentations and use cases all around Spotfire and TIBCO. So a lot to learn from the TIBCO Analytics Forum. We may share some insights about the future, so keep that in mind through the presentation, even though most of the content today is, of course, already available for you to download and try yourself. TIBCO Connected Intelligence. So TIBCO stands on 3 pillars: Connect, Unify, and Predict. In Connect, we find the classic messaging and event processing products together with API management. We also have Unify, our latest pillar, where you will find product solutions within data visualization, master data management, metadata management. And of course, Spotfire is in the Predict pillar with visual analytics, data science, and streaming analytics. We do a good job, according to industry analysts, in providing the best possible solutions for connected intelligence. As you know, Spotfire is a full spectrum analytics platform, and we support everything from visual analytics, data science, dashboarding even, reports and mobile BI. And data, you can load any kind of data, static data, in-motion data, you can push queries in DB, load data into the very powerful in-memory engine, and combine all of them in the same analysis file. You may have heard the concept Hyperconverged Analytics. And what is that? It's basically analytics, data science, and streaming coming together. And not only coming together technically, but also from a user's perspective. We see users doing more with data, and they are moving seamlessly between these different areas. For example, you see data of larger sizes and more varieties used, especially within machine learning. And we also see machine learning, for example, being used in combination with visual analytics to, for example, monitor the models and analyze the results. Hyperconverged analytics is also something Gartner recognizes. So we work together with Gartner, and we're carving out this concept and the solutions and really working together to find this immersive and easy to use hyperconverged analytics future together. Spotfire 11.3 is a mainstream release, which means it replaces 11.2 and will be supported until we see the next release. You may wonder when the next LTS release. That's a very common question, and we would love to see the next LTS release soon. And keep in mind that typically we release a Spotfire long-term support release in the June timeframe. So keep an eye out for that. All right, let's move into the features. What's new in Spotfire 11.3, and start with data science. You may have seen in previous Spotfire 11 releases the new FX flyout. It's a really cool favorites menu for advanced analytics, machine learning, data science, where you can pin and easily find your favorite data functions. This is also where you find the built-in statistical tools that comes with Spotfire. So, and this is a great start, but we wanted to do more. And for what we did first was to enable it in Business Author. So even as a business author, you have access to your favorite data functions. And by the way, it could also be data functions that your administrator has pushed to all users to make sure you are using the latest approved data function for a specific purpose and not anything else not approved. So with Spotfire 11.3, we took this first FX flyout experience much further, and we developed a new smart web-based experience for using Python and R in your analysis. And this should also, of course, say integrations with Statistica and MATLAB, because those are also very popular to use in combination with Spotfire's data functions. So in combination with the FX flyout and a library of community data functions, so please check out our exchange, the TIBCO Exchange and the community and download data functions directly from it. 11.3 enables more users to use more advanced tools to answer more questions in less time. And I will show you how in just a moment. I decided to show you the new experience compared to an existing experience and an advanced data function that you can try out already today. So our good friend and colleague, Neil Kanungo, he has not only created the COVID-19 template, which you can download and get started with analyzing COVID-19 data, he also created the super smoother data function. And this is a screenshot from the YouTube video. You have the link here. And as you can see, it's a traditional Windows Form style experience of using it, selecting columns, and really mapping this super smoother to your analysis file. In Spotfire 11.3, we can load the same data, and I decided to do this more or less from scratch. I have downloaded the template, and I have one visualization. All right, and I would like to use the super smoother to smooth this red curve. You can see that it's pretty jagged, and yeah, I would just like it not to show all the fluctuations in my data. So what do? I go to the FX flyout, and of course, I have gone to the TIBCO Exchange, downloaded the data function super smoother, and added it to my FX flyout. So I have it readily available at all time. And with 11.3, when you select it, you will see the new web-based experience, which allows you to map this data function directly from the flyout using a brand new web-based interface. And not only that, you can of course start with if the function should refresh automatically. If it's a fast data function like the super smoother, you may want it to react on changes at all times. If it's another data function running slightly slower, maybe it's executed on a cloud somewhere, you may not want to enable that. All right. Neil has also provided me with great instructions. For each input, there is an instruction. So for identifiers, for the identifiers input, I can see that this should be the name of the column which contains the location reference, right? So I need a column, so I switch type to column. Then I need to work on my data table, which in this case is the world countries table. And I should select the country and the ISO code for countries. It's really good at making sure I'm working on unique countries. Next one is values, name of the column with cases data. So we do the same, we select column as input type. We go to the world countries table once again, and then new cases. This is what I would like to smooth. And then we go to date, and date should be a column. You can see it sometimes Spotfire tries to be smart and select the correct type, and you will see this now and then. And this is something we are working on improving over time using more heuristics, even some AI in the background to reduce the number of clicks and be as smart as possible. So this is a start, and we are getting smarter with each release, hopefully. We need to select the world countries table again, and then date. All right, and not only have we very easily set the three inputs, we also get a nice looking overview of how we have configured the inputs, and we can click OK. This will execute the data function and take us to the output configuration. So each data function has inputs and outputs, and now it's time to map the outputs. And we have a few new things. I will show you that on a slide in a moment. But you can see that just as when you're adding data, you're selecting how your data source should output the data into your analysis file. Same thing here. You select how the data function should output the calculated result. So we select add as calculated column 2. And once again, our world countries data table. And click OK. And with that, we have the result. And we have a new cases smooth column, which we can just drag and drop to our visualization, just like that. And we need to just show it as a line maybe, and change the colors. It's easier to see. And that's how easy it is to smooth a curve. I don't know anything basically of how Neil built the super smoother. I'm sure it's very advanced, but I could follow the instructions provided in the flyout. And please go to our community and try out the Super Smoother and many, many other data functions out there. And hopefully you find it as easy as I do to add them to your specific use case analysis file and problem and data. All right, and compare the new experience to the experience Neil is using in this video. And we're working together with Neil to provide an updated version where you can sort of see an updated demo with the new user experience. All right, the workflow was go to the flyout, select your favorite data function, map the inputs, map the outputs, and just drag and drop the result to whatever you need it. There are many new output types. We use the calculated column outputs in the demo, but there is also, you can also replace a data table, add it as a document property, data table property, and a column property. And we also try to be smart. So a data function that outputs a value is automatically recommended as a document property, and so on. So smartness built into the user interface and dialogues. We also see that tables are a common input to data functions. So we created the new data table type. With 11.3, it's hard to imagine that it hasn't always been there, but you used to be forced to write an expression to include all the columns for a complete table. Now you can just select data table, and if you're curious, you can actually go and see the automatically created expression underneath. But this is not something you really need to know. Just select data table as input. We also save you a lot of time. This is the classic workflow for a calculated column. So you need to go to data menu, data function properties, insert, search for available data functions in the library, because previously things were not pinned to an FX menu. Then you need to select input handler, maybe marking, if you're interested in marking, refresh function automatically, output handler, and so on. With 11.3, you just go to the FX menu, you select column as input, you may check limit by marking, and you're basically done. Document properties, same thing. Just go to the FX menu where the data function is pinned. The input handler will automatically be set to value. You need to enter a value, of course, if you need a default value for your value input. But then you need a refresh function automatically. Of course, that's up to you. But, and this is the great thing, if you select to use a document property, it's added automatically. It's created. We give it a smart name that doesn't exist before, and it's automatic selected in the UI. So we do our best to reduce the number of clicks and inputs needed to map a data function. Once again, please visit our forum, TIBCO Change, where you will find, for example, the Super Smoother, but also the recently uploaded random forest Python data function, and much more. We also have a data wrangling feature, and this is related to the add rows feature. We have added the use automatch feature. So if you are doing a union between two data sets, and you know that these data sets continuously receive more columns, maybe more sensors are added from the production line, and you know that these are available in both data sets or all data sets, because you can do a union between how many data sets you like. If you know that's the case, you can click this box and have everything, any columns added in the future automatically match. So really cool feature and easy to configure, and it replaces the manual match otherwise used. Data access. We have connectors, and they used to be available from the Connect to menu. The problem with that is that many of the connectors support multiple data sources. For example, the Apache Spark SQL connector could not only connect to Apache Spark SQL, but also Databricks. SQL Server could connect to Azure Synapse, Azure SQL, SQL Server, and so on. So we have, just to make it easier to find your favorite data source and also show what Spotfire actually supports, these 70-something data sources are now listed, and you also know which connector will be used. And for certain connectors supporting multiple data sources through a menu, we automatically select the correct one. So if you select MongoDB, it's the MySQL connector that will be used, but you can see the database system is automatically set to MongoDB. So hopefully you will find it easy to use, easy to explain what's supported, and end users knows what to use for each specific data source. SharePoint Online Lists, one of the most popular connectors right now. It's rather new, very feature-rich, supports everything there is to support when it comes to lists. But we have spent the extra time to support automation services and schedule updates. And this was a little bit tricky because service accounts in combination with token-based authentication is not always as straightforward as just storing username and password. So we have done a lot of new enhancements to achieve this. Please review the documentation on how to do it, because there are a few steps you need to go through. It's not hard, but there are a few steps you need to complete to use this. And it means you can cache SharePoint data analysis files using schedule updates and automate jobs like you're used to using automation services. So really powerful as always, but yeah, refer to the documentation on how to configure it. SAP HANA hints. We heard from a few customers that metadata took a very long time to load, especially when you have large SAP HANA clusters. But SAP has a feature called SAP HANA hints, and we now support hints. So you can go to the new connectors SAP HANA preference and set these hints. And hopefully, if you have seen issues with metadata being loading slow, performance should not be increased. This is not a new feature. It's actually a feature we are changing, and that is related to information services, information links, and when you join data from multiple data sources. As you know, unless you're joining data visually or blending data, joining it in a visualization, basically, data need to be in a data engine, a single data engine. So to achieve that, you need to move data to somewhere. If you're joining between two databases, you need to move data to one of them before you execute the join. And if data can't be moved to any of the data sources, Spotfire would move data to the Spotfire server database. And this is not always a good idea, because in the Spotfire server database, and you can see it's a logical database. So this is SQL Server, we have databases, and one of them is Spotfire server. And you can see we store very important data, for example, related to deployment areas. So using it as a temporary storage for doing joins may not be the best idea. So, but it's either way, it's default, also in 11.3, but from 11.4 and later, it will not be the default database, and you will need to configure the default database. So keep that in mind, especially with upgrades. Know that you need to configure the join database. So read up on we have created a full community page describing everything with links to documentation, and yeah, inform customers and partners about this. All right, developer and OEM news in 11.3. You can now sign your mods with a CA certificate. So by downloading the package builder from Cloud, you can use it to sign your mods using a CA certificate. So download this package builder and use this long command, and you will make sure that your mods are signed using a real and trusted certificate authority. We also continue to enhance and update the mods framework. So 11.3 comes with mods 1.1, and there are a few updates for you. For example, the ability to cancel a reader, which allows you to start and cancel subscriptions for more dynamic functionality. And as you can see, this is really low-level API enhancements. So read up on this yourself to learn more what you can do. And this is mods. We're keeping the momentum with mods. Once again, go to our community, check out all the mods available there, and read up. If you're a mods developer, read up on the new features in mods 1.1. Another mods-related enhancement is the ability to drag and drop pre-built mod files into Business Author. So even if you're using the web client, you can now download a mod file, trust the certificate, and visualize the data, in this case using an area chart. So really, really cool to have that in the web browser as well. You can also add these custom tooltips to the flyout. So if you have the visualization flyout and you have your mod, you can add a tooltip to tell your users more about your mod. The JavaScript Mashup API now support editing mode. So if you have embedded Spotfire in another application, maybe you have it in Salesforce, maybe somewhere else, you're visualizing, displaying Spotfire content visualizations somewhere else in another web-based application, you can enable Spotfire in editing mode. So you can enable users to actually be in full-fledged authoring mode while using Spotfire from within another frame, another context. So really powerful feature, really cool. Hopefully you can do much more with mashup Spotfire solutions. The documentation for mods has been updated. So you have a new page with an API overview. You have documentation on readers, how to consume changes in data and properties. And there are also new source code examples, spider chart, for example. So yeah, check that out on GitHub. Administration in 11.3, we now support AdoptOpenJDK. If you, for some reason, prefers not to use the Oracle JDK, you can now use AdoptOpenJDK. There are new custom logging configuration file for the node manager. So custom logging settings that are easy to reuse and persistent, no upgrades. So the file is located on this path, and you can customize the node manager login behavior using a new properties file on this path. The help for TIBCO Cloud Spotfire has been translated and is now available on a range of languages. So go to docstibco.com and enjoy TIBCO Cloud Spotfire documentation in your preferred language. And mods. Once again, mods are available on the community. We have about 10 mods at least. They were added at high pace, but at least 10 mods are available. And yeah, go try them out. In the slide deck, we have provided all of them currently released. And we definitely encourage you to download them, use the source code, learn from them, enhance them, and let us know what you have done. Or just download the mod file and drag and drop it into Business Author and try it yourself. You can try things like the stop times mod, the vertical line chart mod, thank you, Andrew, 3D scatterplot mod, vehicle loading mod, network chart mod. You will see tons of cool demos at TIBCO Analytics Forum in May using the network chart mod. It looks really amazing. Another amazing mod is the animated bubble chart mod, which runs a bit slow over Zoom, but it looks awesome in reality. You also have the area chart mod, text card mod, which allows you to display longer text beautifully, and the stock chart mod, spider chart mod, and that's it. This is the complete list of what's new in Spotfire 11.3. You can see it's a feature-packed release, and hopefully you will find something here that motivates you to upgrade to the latest release of Spotfire. And since the latest LTS release, the list is really long of new great IDs. And once again, we release LTS releases typically in a June timeframe every year, so watch out for that. And with that, thank you, and happy to answer any questions you might have.